The news doesn't stop on the weekends.
Context changes constantly.
And now Bloomberg is the place to stay on top of it all.
Hi, I'm David Gura. Join us every Saturday and Sunday for the new Bloomberg This Weekend.
I'm Christina Ruffini. We'll bring you the latest headlines, in-depth analysis, and big interviews. All the stories that hit home on your days off.
And I'm Lisa Mateo. Watch and listen to Bloomberg This Weekend for thoughtful, enlightening conversations about business, lifestyle, people, and culture.
On Saturday mornings, we put the past week's events into context, examining what happened in the markets and the world.
Then on Sundays, we speak with journalists, columnists, and key political figures to prepare you for the week ahead.
Join us as soon as you wake up and bring us with you wherever your weekend plans take you.
Watch us on Bloomberg Television, listen on Bloomberg Radio, stream the show live on the Bloomberg Business app, or listen to the podcast.
That's Bloomberg This Weekend, Saturdays and Sundays starting at 7 a.m. Eastern on February 28th.
Make us part of your weekend routine on Bloomberg Television, radio, and wherever you get your podcasts.
A couple quick notes before we get started. Throughout the rest of the series, you'll hear people refer to GE. They're usually talking about a division of the General Electric company that made aircraft engines, GE Aviation. Today, it's an independent company called GE Aerospace. So you'll hear people use all these terms, and they basically mean the same thing. Also, this is the third episode of this series. If you missed the first two, we recommend going back and listening in order. Thanks. Do you know what that is?
It's loud.
Yeah.
It's definitely loud. Drake, you want to talk about where we are and what we're seeing?
We're at the Paris Air Show, and that noise in the background is some kind of advanced fighter jet doing loops above us in the sky. All around us. Wow. The Paris Air Show takes place every 2 years. It's been happening since 1909, almost as long as airplanes have existed. It's held at Le Bourget Airport, which is actually where Charles Lindbergh landed after his famous flight across the Atlantic in 1927. A century later, this airport still gets to be, for a week, the center of the aviation world.
This is the greatest repository of knowledge about the industry you're going to find on a global basis.
This is Richard Abalafia, a consultant in the aviation industry. And who are some of the biggest companies here?
The charismatic megafauna are the airframers, so you've got Boeing, Airbus, Lockheed Martin, folks like that. And then you've got the engine ecosystem led by General Electric and, well, dozens and hundreds, thousands even, of companies going down to the second, third, and fourth tier of the supply chain.
People are here to network and to show off. There are all these huge exhibition halls full of booths displaying products like control systems, landing gear, radar transponders. Outside, aircraft are lined up along the taxiway, shining in the bright sun in all their glory. There's all sorts of eye candy here, in all directions. But we spent the majority of our time looking at one thing.
The GE9X aircraft engine. It's the most powerful commercial jet engine that's ever been made.
The GE9X, made by GE Aerospace, is outside on its own little stage with its own security guards and a velvet rope.
First, it's huge.
It's gigantic. I mean, the at its widest, the sort of intake fan blade section is almost 12 feet in diameter. So you can see inside it, and it looks really complicated. I, even having done the reporting we've done, can't make much sense of what I'm looking at, honestly. But if you did have a little bit more of technical proficiency, you get this. Like Richard, who definitely has a little more technical proficiency than we do. And he says jet propulsion is actually pretty straightforward. It boils down to 4 words.
Suck, squeeze, burn, blow.
Suck, squeeze, burn, blow.
You're sucking air in, you're squeezing it, you're compressing it in several stages of a compressor. Burn, of course, is the combustor. That's an engine, just like a car engine. It's burning fuel. And then blow, of course, is what comes out the back that gives you your propulsion.
Simple, and yet really hard to perfect. Because making an engine is one thing. Making it light enough and powerful enough to fly through the air is another. Making money on it is another. And having everyone land safely at the end of the day, every single time, is still another. The stakes are incredibly high. So being able to make engines like this puts GE into a very exclusive club.
There are only 3 companies and 2 countries in the entire world that can build a decent commercial jet engine. General Electric and Pratt & Whitney of the US and Rolls-Royce in Britain.
None of those companies, you'll notice, are Chinese. There are all sorts of areas where Chinese companies have caught up with and surpassed their Western competitors. Today, a smartphone made by China's Huawei is just as advanced as an iPhone. And a BYD electric car is on par with a Tesla, and a fraction of the price. But when it comes to commercial aviation and commercial jet engines, no dice.
Obviously, the Chinese government wants to change that. They claim that their latest fighter jets already rival America's. And China's state-owned airplane maker, Comac, is currently making commercial planes meant to compete with Airbus and Boeing. But Chinese passenger jets are still heavily reliant on tech from Western companies, which makes the Paris Air Show a very compelling destination for a certain type of government employee.
What about spies? So the spies come here?
There's no question. And it used to be...
Re-enter Xu Yanjun. Xu was here back in 2017. But of course, to get to the Paris Air Show, he and his colleagues had to take precautions. They used a front company to get their visas, and they didn't fly directly to France.
June 17th, early morning, flew to Athens.
They flew into Athens.
FBI Special Agent Bradley Hull.
They went to Santorini, where they rented a villa.
June 18th, took ferry to Santorini.
We have photos of the villa and the view from the villa. It was stunning. We also have photos of them in the hot tub with what appear to be narcotics. We also have photos of them with women, some in the hot tub, some in other locales. So basically, it looked like these 5 or 6 MSS officers who were on this trip were a bunch of lads out on the lash, to use the British term for it, right? They were there to party. So that if anybody was watching them, they wouldn't look like a group of MSS officers there to do spycraft. They looked like a bunch of guys doing a big European trip where, you drink, you carouse, etc.
The lads out on the lash, as Bradley would say, partied their way through Venice, Verona, Florence, Rome.
And ultimately, after 5 days of what we call a surveillance detection route, the team determined they were clean. They bought tickets for cash at the airport.
June 22nd, flew to Paris.
And went straight to the Paris Air Show. We could see which gate they entered. We know they spent a lot of time around an area where one of the U.S. Predator drones was set up. We have a couple images of that. They had at least 2 meetings with other individuals, either at the Paris Air Show or around the Paris Air Show. And that's what they were there to do, ultimately. They were there to mix and mingle, and it certainly seems like they did.
On top of all that, Xu had another job to do. He had to go shopping for his boss.
1 briefcase, 2 Lacoste t-shirts.
For his boss's boss, or his boss's boss's wife.
1 Miu Miu purse, 1 Zanya belt, 1 Ambo bracelet.
And for the big boss, Xu really splashed out.
2 bottles of Latour, 1 Zanya clutch, 1 box of macaron.
He spends thousands of euros, and yet, when he gets home, it's clear his gifts don't get the reaction he was hoping for.
Went to work, gave out all the gifts, didn't buy enough.
It was a small enough thing, but it bugged him. And it was one of a growing number of indignities he suffered in 2017. The year marks a kind of inflection point for Xu. He begins to struggle at work and also at home. But that same year, he would get introduced to a new source, the kind of source that could change everything.
This was going to be the highlight of Xu's career. This is going to be the recruitment that is going to set him aside from all of his peers. This is big. This is a very big thing.
From Bloomberg News and iHeart Podcasts, this is The Sixth Bureau. I'm Jordan Robertson.
And I'm Drake Bennett.
You can get the news whenever you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris.
And I'm Karen Moscow, here to tell you about our new on-demand news report delivered right to your podcast feed. Bloomberg News Now is a short 5-minute audio report on the day's top stories. Episodes are published throughout the day with the latest information and data to keep you informed.
Yes, there are other products like this from a variety of news organizations, but they usually rerun their radio newscasts throughout the day. That's not what we do. We create customized episodes that can only be heard on Bloomberg News Now.
And we don't wait an hour to publish breaking news. When news breaks, we'll have an episode up in your podcast feed within minutes, so you're always getting the latest stories and developments.
Get the reporting and the context from Bloomberg's 3,000 journalists and analysts. We're all over the world. Listen to the latest from Bloomberg News Now on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere you listen.
Throughout 2017, Shu's personal life was in the dumps. Shu really starts to sound like he's stuck. Reading his diary, you can see him questioning his life choices.
May 19th. Feeling agitated in past couple days. Feeling like I'm abandoned by the whole world. Work, relationship, money. None of it is going well.
On the romance front, he'd been spending a lot of time with one of his mistresses. Someone he worked with at the MSS, actually. The one he called Peach in his diary. But now, things with Peach were taking a turn.
April 28th. Message to Peach, but didn't receive any reply. Not going to reach out anymore. Speaking of a relationship, Peach obviously doesn't care anymore. Not even replying to messages. Breakup is real.
As the summer wore on, things only got worse.
August 17th. Peach, heartless, saw me in the rain yesterday morning, walked by with her umbrella without stopping. She did not sit next to me at the breakfast either. I reached out to her on WeChat after. She was very cold toward me. I felt like I was humiliating myself.
Things weren't going any better for Shu financially.
I lost so much in the stock market. I dug myself into a financial hole. What a shame. Feeling so terrible. When does it all end?
Work also sucked. Shu's boss, Ja Rong, had been a mentor to him for years. But now, Shu felt taken for granted.
March 27th. Ja rejected meal receipt today. Such an ungrateful person. Has no shame. I will have my revenge.
He would get promoted and then be berated. He would have an amazing case and get a beautiful end-of-the-year review and then be crushed a week later because a decimal point was wrong on a receipt.
April 28th. Relationship with Ja has dropped below freezing point. Ja undermined me. I need to adjust my mindset.
So that yo-yoing between you're great and you're terrible clearly was having an impact on his state of mind.
During dinner, Ja went nuts and said I'm poor at management. Ja has turned against me just like that. I think my relationship with him will never be the same again. Having a leader like this, what's the point?
Life wasn't where he wanted it to be, even though compared to your average person to be that high up within the MSS in China would seem like a pretty, auspicious life. But my interpretation was that he didn't see it that way.
At low point in my life, nothing works my way, and the liars get their ways.
But amidst all of this disappointment and humiliation, Shu did still have a job to do. He had hacks to manage and bosses to deal with. He had to keep finding new engineers to come give talks in Nanjing. And if he could find a really good one, it could turn his life, or at least his career, around. He could get back on his feet. And he did. And it wasn't by hacking into a computer or breaking into a hotel room or doing some special spy thing. It was through a tool you've probably used yourself. Something extremely ordinary.
LinkedIn?
Yeah, LinkedIn. Also known as one of the most boring places on the internet. But not to the MSS.
It was like a candy store.
This is James Olson, the former CIA officer we've been hearing from. He was also an expert witness for the prosecution in Shu's case.
LinkedIn is a wonderful spotting tool for the MSS.
a spotting tool, meaning they go hang out on LinkedIn looking for sources, for people who have access to the information they want, like aviation engineers. And with LinkedIn,
we're handing it to them. They've got their resumes on there. They brag about the projects they've been working on. It's all right there.
And that's where Xu, or someone at the 6th Bureau, spotted the profile of a GE engineer named David Jun.
He had access to very sensitive programs at GE Aviation, working on this composite material, this lightweight technology.
Remember that huge engine we stood next to at the Paris Air Show, the GE9X? Well, part of what's so special about that engine is that key elements of it are made out of carbon fiber composite. When you make something out of carbon fiber, you can make it both lighter and stronger than if you'd made it out of most any other material, say metal. And as you can imagine, details about how GE Aerospace uses carbon fiber are kept very tight. They're inaccessible even to most of the company's employees, but not to David Jun.
And that's why when Xu saw this LinkedIn profile, he said, bingo, jackpot, exactly what they want, and I'm going to go get it.
David was born and raised in a rural village in China. Being Chinese is also part of what made him an attractive target for the MSS. The MSS is known to specifically target Chinese people living and working abroad, people who might be susceptible to appeals to their sense of patriotism, or threats to their family members back home. David was the first in his family to go to college, then moved to the U.S. to get his engineering PhD in composites. He moved to Cincinnati in 2012 to work for what was then called GE Aviation, and focused on a part of the engine called the fan containment case. We really wanted to talk to David Jun for this series. Drake and I have approached him multiple times over the years we've been reporting on this case. He's declined to talk to us each time. So there's a lot we don't know about him, but we do know LinkedIn is part of how Xu and the MSS spotted him. And we know what they did next.
They reach out. Obviously, Xu doesn't say, "Hi, I'm from the MSS and I'd love to explore how we can collaborate to serve China." The MSS is smarter than that. So Xu doesn't even make the first contact. Instead, it's a dean at NUAA.
Hello, I'm sorry to bother you. Chen Feng. I'm in charge of the International Cooperation and Exchange Office at the Nanjing University of Aeronautics and Astronautics. I learned from your online resume that you have accumulated a wealth of...
The MSS recruited a respected person to make the first contact. That added to the likelihood that Jing would be impressed, would be flattered that someone of that stature would be reaching out to him personally.
Many eminent talents like you, Chen Feng continued, come to NUAA to share their expertise.
NUAA can pay for the cost of your trip back to China for the exchange. If you are interested, please feel free to contact me.
David, it seems, was flattered by the invitation.
Chen Feng, how are you? Thank you for your email. I've been working at GE for over 10 years. After graduating with a doctorate in the US, I first worked for 5 years at GE's R&D department. Then in 2012...
Plus, he already happened to be planning an upcoming trip to China.
At the end of May to see my parents. My hometown is in Chuzhou. When I pass by Nanjing, if time allows, I am happy to pay a visit to NUAA. I can confirm once my itinerary is finalized.
The emails between David and Chen continue through the spring into early May. And as they do, Chen gets more and more specific about what he wants David to share in his talk, and even what it could be called.
Application, design, and manufacturing techniques of composite materials in aircraft engines.
Composites. David's careful in his response. He says he can't discuss any proprietary information from his work. But before he goes to China, he does something that will come back to haunt him. He copies about 41,000 files off his GE work computer. And then, as he's getting ready for his trip, he transfers 5 of those files onto his personal computer, the one he's planning to take to China. At no point does he mention any of this to anyone at GE.
On June 1st, 2017, David Jun arrives in Nanjing. Chen Feng picks him up and takes him to his hotel, which is on the NUAA campus. The next morning, over tea in the hotel lobby, Chen Feng introduces him to a man who he says works with the university. He says the man's name is Chu Hui. Surprise, surprise, it's Xu Yanjun. The group goes to lunch, then David gives his presentation to a room of about 25 people.
Jing gave the talk. Of course, they raved about it, how smart he was. And they're asking questions.
But David doesn't answer most of the questions because he says they touch on sensitive GE work.
They're kind of probing. They're seeing how far he will go, whether he is someone who can be induced to talk more than he should.
After the presentation, Chen Feng hands David cash, $3,500. He says it's for the talk and to cover his travel. At dinner that night, Chu Hui, aka Xu Yanjun, presents David with 2 boxes of fancy tea. They say their goodbyes, and David heads back to the U.S. We reached out to NUAA and Chen Feng for comment, but neither responded.
Once David is home, Chu Hui messages him over WeChat to thank David for his talk. He invites him to come back soon.
You're welcome to visit Nanjing again next year.
6 months pass. Xu goes to the Paris Air Show. Peach breaks his heart. His boss continues to ride him. And then, in December, David Jun says he's coming back to China.
Hello, Department Head Chu. It's been a while since we last caught up.
David says he has another trip booked, and he seems eager to give another talk at NUAA. Xu seems eager too. He responds just a few hours later.
I will try my best to arrange it for you. Come stop by Nanjing and we can have a chat. Welcome back.
As the messages continue, David repeatedly asks Xu what material he should bring with him to China. He no longer seems concerned about revealing sensitive GE information. Instead, his main concern seems to be giving Xu what he wants. For Xu, this had to feel like a huge break. He had an enthusiastic source inside GE, working on one of the company's most coveted technologies, a potential goldmine. But David Jun wasn't writing these messages himself. He was being told what to say.
We had to have the communication look authentic.
And at this point, of course, they're actually talking to Bradley Hall.
FBI Special Agent Bradley Hall.
We had to make the story seem as accurate and truthful as possible. I wanted for my counterpart in the MSS to see and to read and to think, oh, it's still my guy. He's still working for me. The goal of a good intel operation is to talk to the officer, spy v. spy.
David was now working with the FBI. That's who Xu Yanjun was talking with. And he was falling for it.
That's when you cast your line to see if they'll at least nibble, and they bit.
This is Tom Keene, inviting you to join us for the Bloomberg Surveillance Podcast. It's about making you smarter every business day.
I'm Paul Sweeney. We bring you complete coverage of the U.S. market open. We cover stocks, bonds, commodities, even crypto, all the information you need to excel.
And I'm Alexis Christoforous. Bloomberg Surveillance also brings you the analysis behind the headlines. We do that through conversations with the smartest names in economics, finance, investment, and international relations.
We do all this live each and every weekday, then bring you the best analysis in our daily podcast. Search for Bloomberg Surveillance on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere else you listen.
On the East Coast, listen at lunch. And on the West Coast, listen as soon as you wake up.
That's the Bloomberg Surveillance Podcast with Tom Keene, Paul Sweeney, and me, Alexis Christoforous. Subscribe today wherever you get your podcasts.
Bloomberg Surveillance, essential listening each and every business day.
On the next episode,
obviously the guy's kind of in shock. 2 FBI people come walking in.
So when I first saw it, I wasn't sure what it was because it was in Mandarin, but I saw a face in a military uniform, which makes it government.
You're going head to head with very smart people on both ends, and each side has to be smarter than the other. And I could just see the jubilation with the FBI that he's coming our way.
I'm Carol Masser.
And I'm Tim Stenivek, inviting you to join us for the Bloomberg Business Week Daily Podcast.
Now, every day we are bringing you reporting from the magazine that helps global leaders stay ahead.
We've got insight on the people, the companies, and trends that are shaping today's complex economy.
That's right, Tim. We're all over global business, finance, tech news, all as it is happening in real time. And we've got complete coverage of the U.S. market close. Gotta say, basically, if it impacts financial markets, if it impacts companies, if it's impacting trends and narratives that are out there, we are on it.
We also have a lot of fun doing it. Bloomberg Business Week also brings you the analysis behind the headlines through conversations with our expert guests.
And we are doing this all live each weekday. And then we bring you the best analysis in our daily podcast.
Search for Bloomberg Business Week on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else you listen.
Check it out on your way home from work to catch up on the conversations that you missed during the business day.
And on the weekend, check it out for a complete wrap-up of your business week.
That's the Bloomberg Business Week Daily Podcast. I'm Carol Masser.
And I'm Tim Stenivek. Subscribe today wherever you get your podcasts.